blindered as to what Huey's would be looking at without knowledge of
Reed's deck.
Of Reed's deck, yeah. So there you see him counting out that first pack. Huey, who had to beat a 13-year-old child in the last round to get into the top 8. Someone who was born 2 years after Huey won his first GP.
Yeah, Huey, who I consider one of the best drafters of all time, and a 13-year-old child who has not been around for very much time.
So we heard that there was a lot of white at the table, a lot of players drafting white.
And this is a pretty easy Sun Guide in my opinion. I like the Sun Guide a lot. It's a good 2-drop. It's not that hard to slap an enchantment on it, have it be able to keep on tapping.
I mean, there's really not much else in this pack
no.
that you would...
The next cards I would consider are the Nyxborn Eidolon. I don't know his name, but the 3-mana red guy that scries for a blue and 1.
Oh, Stormcaller of Keranos.
Yeah, he's good, but he's almost 2 colors, so you don't really want to first pick him. But I mean, for me, if I open this pack, that's a pretty easy Sun Guide for me. I mean, that's, it's just better than the Skirmisher. It's better than Nyxborn Eidolon. It's just the best card in the pack, not by a lot, but just a clear best card in the pack, and it's 1 color, and it's in the best color, so there's no reason not to take it.
Okay. And pack 2, there's a Reap What Is Sown.
Okay, a good card, and white-green's a good archetype. I think I would rather take Retraction Helix, because I think the Reap What Is Sown might be a little bit better, but I feel like blue-white comes together more than green-white does.
Right.
And I think Retraction Helix can go better in other decks, because we're not white yet. We have an Oresco Sun Guide, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if this was pack 3 and we had a mono-white deck up to this point, and it was, like, a little aggressive mono-white deck, I might take the Reap. But I think here, pick 2, I think I want to take Retraction Helix, because for all I know, I'm going to play blue-black. I'm going to, I'm going to play blue-green. I'm not necessarily going to play my Oresco Sun Guide.
Shockingly, Huey agrees with you.
Yeah.
We see an Elite Skirmisher, another Divination, another Oresco Sun Guide.
This should just be another Oresco Sun Guide. I mean, yeah, like once you have more 2-drops, you can then take 3-drops. You're trying to fill out a curve, but this is only pick 3 of the draft, and he's certainly not 2-drop flooded yet. And Oresco Sun Guide is just better than Elite Skirmisher in my opinion. So I mean, I wouldn't be looking at Elite Skirmisher over Oresco Sun Guide until I had a ton of 2-drops. And
Elite Skirmisher is pretty fragile.
It's pretty fragile. It just costs a whole extra mana, and it's not really better. They're about the same. Like in my opinion,
he took the Elite Skirmisher over the Oresco Sun Guide there.
In my opinion, if those 2 cards, like if Elite Skirmisher costs 2 mana, it would be like just a little bit better than Oresco Sun Guide. Not much. You know what I mean? You can get a 3-1 or you can get a 2-2. I'd rather get a 3-1, but not by much.
Right.
And you can have target tap something, or you can have on tap gain 2 life. I'd rather have target tap something, but not by much.
Right.
So
Revoke Existence, card that was pretty instrumental for him in his win against Oliver.
Yeah, and so that last pick I don't like at all. I consider Oresco Sun Guide a lot better than Elite Skirmisher. This pick is just Revoke Existence because there's nothing really there. I mean, you could take that Nyxborn, the red one.
Nyxborn Reveler?
Yeah, and I mean, he's fine. But if you have to 4th pick him and he's your first red card, that's not a good thing. You just take Revoke Existence because it looks like you're seeing white at this point, and that's a pretty easy pick, I think.
There's a Loyal Pegasus. This card I know
Loyal Pegasus
really
good.
likes.
I like it a lot too because 1 mana is almost no investment in it. You have nothing. You weren't going to do anything on turn 1 anyway. Instead, you got this guy out. Now he gets to start attacking and blocking, and it's like almost like it was free.
Right. We called him, I think, earlier a suspend burn spell that does 2 damage for a couple turns.
Right. I like the deck that Yui is drafting. It's certainly what I draft in this seat. I would have just took the Sun Guide over the Skirmisher.
Sure.
Other than that, I would have the same deck in this seat. My other 4 picks would be the same.
So there's a Sudden Storm.
Yeah, and this should be a pretty easy Sudden Storm.
And we were talking about the Sudden Storm when we were looking at Reed's deck, and we were talking about how it's less good in a slower deck and better in an aggressive deck. And you can see where in this deck, he can come out early, put down some guys, and then
use it to finish the
game.
Just
lose it to finish it. Finish his opponent.
Because if he gets his opponent to somewhere around, let's say 8, then Sudden Storm tapping 2 of their guys, he's going to be able to alpha and then alpha again. That's going to probably kill them. But if your plan is just to play bigger guys anyway, I mean, you're tapping their guys just to buy you a turn or 2. I mean, that's not a really useful card. You'd be better off just paying 4 and putting a nice sized creature in play. So here's a little bit of a curveball for him because there's nothing that fits into his good white-blue heroic deck. And he's not really looking to branch out because, I mean, he's got Retraction Helix and Sunstorm.
Right.
And he's got Elite Skirmisher and Oresco Sun Guide.
So he takes the Hold at Bay. I kind of like Divination there sometimes. I mean, I just restock a little bit in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I mean, they're both okay tricks. Considering how bad, well, Divination's not really a trick, but they're both okay effects.
Sure.
Considering how not important either one is, I might have taken the Nyxborn Wolf, to be honest.
Sure.
Just in case I get bombarded with green afterwards.
I was a little surprised it didn't even just get shuffled to the front.
Yeah.
Now we're going to see a Nyxborn, a Rollicker. We call it a Reveler before, sorry.
Rollicker. Yeah, and
nope.
He's
the greatest of hearts.
Yeah, he's sticking pretty hard and fast to his blue-white, which, I mean, I would be blue-white and looking to be blue-white. I just don't mind spewing those picks because you're not taking cards you care about anyway, you know?
Right. So there's an Nyxborn Eidolon, there's a Griffin Dreamfinder, Kraken of the Straits.
It's the same thing for me. I take the Nyxborn Eidolon here. I'm just, at this point in the draft, like, I'm getting one black card, one green card. I'm not planning on playing these cards, but I'm taking them over nothing, and you never know what you're going to open in pack 2.
Right. And this is what we were talking about speculating before we were watching the other draft. The idea that you can go, well, maybe something will happen in this color for me later on.
Like, let's say he takes that second Nyxborn Eidolon. He could be white-black or blue-black. He wants to be blue-white, but then he busts this second pack, and there's Keepsake Gorgon and no other good cards in the pack.
And look, I mean, there's also Griffin Dreamfinder, so like he can have Nyxborn Eidolons that he's just putting down early to trade, bringing them back.
Sure, and
maybe some Baleful Eidolons.
And I don't know what he's going to open. I really don't even remember from what Reed saw. But hypothetically, if he opens a pack with Keepsake Gorgon and no other good cards after taking both Nyxborn Eidolons, he could then go black. If he opens a pack with Keepsake Gorgon and Wingsteed Rider, he can still just take the Wingsteed Rider, play white-blue, and ignore the black.
Right.
But it provides him an out if he opens a really good black card and no white cards.
Right.
So that's why I like picking up those Eidolons late there, even if you have a solid white-blue deck going. If you're not taking them over anything, why close the door? You know, why not leave yourself this option?
So let's take a look at how his deck's looking at this point. So it's really about, like 6 cards deep?
Yeah, he didn't get much. Like, at this point, he's happy with, like, his 5 or 6 cards, but he's like, this is it? This is all I got?
Yeah, it's basically 6 cards, and, like, one of them might be Hold at Bay.
Yeah, and that's all the more reason to pick up those Eidolons because, I mean, you might end up white-black instead of white-blue. Of course, Sunstorm and Retraction Helix are better than 2 Nyxborn Eidolons, but who knows what the rest of the draft is going to hold.
Right. And there's always cards like Scholar of Athreos and Sentry to the Underworld that go around late.
Yeah, I mean, there's just black cards that are good, and there might not be a white or blue card in the pack. I'm really big on not closing the door until the packs make you. Like, I don't believe in having a plan so much as letting the packs tell me where to go and when.
What's the latest you feel like you can make a major deviation?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, how many cards are we talking about dropping? Like, a lot of times halfway through pack 2, I've got 8 cards of one color and 3 cards of 2 other colors, so I'm going to drop one of them, and I don't know which. I wouldn't drop a color that I had 8 cards of midway through pack 2 or anything like that, you know?
Yeah, I've seen situations where you can straddle 3 colors all the way almost to the end of pack 2.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you don't have to. Don't get me wrong. Like, Finkel's draft from earlier was great, where you just opened blue and green and took all blue-green. What did Yui take there? I didn't see him take a card. Did he just windmill slant something really quickly?
He just took Nimbus Naiad.
Nimbus Naiad. Okay, well, that's a pretty easy pick.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I didn't really even get to – I saw him going through the pack.
Yeah, in my brain, I was like, oh, he takes Nimbus Naiad here. Yeah. And then he was taking a little while, and then
I saw him going through the pack. I saw the Nimbus Naiad when the pack was open, and I was like, yeah, that's probably the best card in the pack. But then I just didn't even see him take anything.
There's a Wave Crash Triton. There's the Ashiok. It's certainly a card he could take here.
Well, he can't because he didn't take the Nyxborn Eidolons like we talked about.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so he has, like, no black cards, like, literally none. That's why we don't want to close doors, because you see how there's no white cards in this pack. So if I'm Huey in this spot, I probably have those Nyxborn Eidolons and take the Ashiok and then switch into blue-black and draft a really good blue-black deck, because he's feeding Reed this pack, so that Gray Merchant that Reed got late and all his cards, Huey's able to take.
Right.
And, you know, and then Reed obviously probably ends up green-blue or something, I don't know, something else.
Right.
It changes the whole draft, so it's hard to envision exactly what would happen.
Yeah, of course.
But if I'm in Reed's seat, drafting it as Reed saw it, you know, not in hindsight, I draft Reed's deck. I draft the green-black deck. I just prioritize some of the 2 drops a little higher, even though they're less power overall, but he needed them. In Huey's seat, I probably don't play blue-white. Even though I start out white like Huey, I probably move into blue-black from Huey's seat.
Right.
that Ashiok does it for me. I pick up those Eidolons, I take the Nimbus Naiad, and then boom, there's Ashiok. I take it over nothing because there's no white and nothing from anyway. And now I'm looking at this pack. There's nothing great from white, and I can take Disciple of Phoenix.
Right.
And now I'm like, wow, I've got a good blue-black deck going. I've got the Eidolons, I've got the Ashiok, Disciple of Phoenix, Sunstorm and Retraction Helix, not at their best in blue-black, but, you know, they're playable cards still, especially Retraction Helix.
Huey's deck is definitely looking thin here. A few picks into pack 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really seeing much. That's a great white-blue card.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a reward for having stayed in white. But, I mean, still.
Daxos of Miletus.
I feel like, you know, I feel like he didn't see any white the past couple of picks, and he didn't see any white the end of pack 1. So I can't imagine he's going to see a lot of great white in this draft.
Right. But and you don't, right? I mean, you just don't. Like, it's not. There's a good chance that 3 or 4 people have moved into white early on in the draft.
And when we're going to see pack 3 here, Reed is solidly in black, so Reed's going to cut off the black. But remember, if Huey moves into black in front of Reed there before Reed does, Reed almost certainly doesn't move into black because there weren't 2 good black cards in most of those packs. If Huey takes Ashiok and then Disciple of Phoenix and then Gray Merchant, Reed most likely has to find something else to go with his green.
Right.
And then Huey would get all that good black that Reed got.
Right.
Now, they can't both get it.
Right.
But this is how draft works. Since you're drafting simultaneously, what you do affects them, what they do affects you.
Right, yeah, actions have consequences. It looks like just in hindsight that there ends up being 5 white drafters at this table.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I don't blame Huey for looking white. He started with white. Those were the best cards he was seeing.
I'd forgotten about the Insatiable Harpy.
Right. I mean, he's going to have to Divine Verdict. I mean,
pretty easily, right?
Yeah, the black ship has sailed. I mean, if you tagged me into this draft at this point, I would take the Divine Verdict too.
Right.
I mean, you just can't start on the black now.
Right, that's the other important thing is, like, once you've committed to something, even if you're like, oh, maybe I should have done it differently.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't undo it.
You can't undo it. You can't. It's too late to switch.
And that's why it's important to pick up things like those Eidolons when you can, when it's not over much, because it keeps the door open.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, there's something with that Eidolon that isn't that great, but is a playable, let's say. So you can't take those Eidolons, and then the door isn't there for you. It's for the next guy.
Right.
Like, let's pretend those same packs had a Nyxborn Shieldmate, let's say, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Not a great card, but a fine playable, right?
Yeah.
You're going to take it because you had other white cards, and it's just as good as a Nyxborn Eidolon, or just a little bit worse, or whatever. It's not important. And then you see the same black, and you're like, man, I wish that, you know, I had gone into black. But you're not psychic, so you couldn't take Nyxborn Eidolon over Nyxborn Shieldmate in case you got bombarded by black pack 2. But you could take Nyxborn Eidolon over virtual unplayables in case you get bombarded by black in pack 2. That's how you stay open. That's how you position yourself. You know, every pick is you have to wait. What is this off? What card can I take with what I already have? And then what card can I take that keeps doors open or in case I see things later? You have to constantly weight those things against each other.
Right.
And that's why booster drafting is so hard, frankly. It would be a lot easier if you just were forced to stick with whatever you took the first 3 picks and then you just had to take the best card that goes with those over and over and over and over again. A lot of people who have watched me draft have commented how the first 5, 6, 7 picks of a draft, I'll often go to time. And then in pack 3, I need like 5 seconds a pick.
Right.
Because once I don't have to wait switching into other colors and keeping doors open, I know what I want out of the pack. So I pick up the pack, look at it, and put something down. Pick up the pack. But beginning of pack 2, middle of pack 1, it's extremely hard to decide, do I want this white card that's like a 4 for my white deck, or do I want this black card that's a 7 that maybe is here a little later than it should be, you know? Those are the difficult picks.
Yeah, again, we see the crazy black going around.
Yeah.
You know, 2 playable black cards left in the pack when he passes it, Boon of Erebos and Blood Toll Harpy.
Yeah, and we already knew this was going to happen from watching Reed's draft.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know was going to happen was whether it was going to make sense for you to go into it, whether he was going to have the option. Like I said, if there was a Nyxborn Shieldmate with that Nyxborn Eidolon, I would never say Yui should have went into black. But when he took virtual unplayables over Nyxborn Eidolons, I didn't think that was correct. I thought he should have taken the Eidolons and had the opportunity to move into black.
Right. The big pickup for him in this pack, he's got the Triton, he's got the Nimbus Naiad, and of course he's got the Daxos.
And Daxos is fantastic, Nimbus Naiad is fantastic, but what does he have, 9 total cards?
Might be a couple more than that, but not very much.
That you want to play? I mean, I'm not counting Hold Up Bay and Greatheart. I mean, I'll count Loyal Pegasus, you know what I mean? Like, how many cards does he have that he actually wants to play with?
It looks like about 12 or 13.
Oh, that's not that
And that might
bad,
be including a Crackling Triton.
And a Great Heart I see in there, and an Affairs Warden that just got moved in.
Yeah. Well, when you count all the cards he's got sorted in there, it's about 17.
I don't know. Looks like around 14 counting all of those. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's hard to count that quick, but
yeah.
I didn't see him get many cards. Like this pack, he got Nimbus Naiad, Wave Crash Triton.
Yep.
He got Daxos.
Yeah.
And Divine Verdict.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, that's about it.
That's 4 cards.
Yeah.
So how many did he get pack 1?
But
6?
he put more than 4 cards in his playables at this point. You know, he has an Affairs Warden in there.
Yeah, but that's a card you're playing because you have to, not because you want to. I mean,
another Wave Crash Triton.
This is painful for me to watch. I mean, you know, Huey's really good and a good friend of mine, and you know, I'm rooting for him. But his deck is bad.
He needs some stuff to happen for him in this pack.
Yeah.
He's looking at a Wave Crash Triton.
Yeah, I mean, here there's Battle-Wise Valor, there's Wave Crash Triton, there's Ordeal. I would take Ordeal because it has the highest upside and he has really cheap creatures, and it's maybe a shot he can get there. None of the options are really great for him with what he already has. I'm just not really sure. Like, he just really needs to catch some cards.
He takes the Triton.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're pretty close. It's not a big deal. I just don't really know how his deck's planning on winning games. I like that he could slap the Ordeal on the Daxos, and that's a way you can just outright win the game.
Right.
I'm not really sure how that Wave Crash Triton is going to win him the game.
Lots of Chosen by Heliod's.
Yeah, but I mean, what are you doing? I mean, I guess you're poking them with your 2/1s or whatever.
Right, yeah.
I mean, his last draft deck, which looked pretty similar to this one, wasn't very good, but it wasn't like this. He had a lot of 2/1s and 2/2s.
He had more flyers, too, right?
Right. And, I mean, that wasn't a good deck by any means.
Janky flyers, but flyers nonetheless. And he 3-0'd that pot, right?
And that's not a 3-1 deck. You know, that wasn't a good deck. You know, he just happened to go 3-0 with it. But, I mean, that deck looked okay, just not good. He had a lot of small creatures, and he had a couple of ways to get them through to interact with the opponent. This deck, like, I don't see anything out of his deck that I like.
Well, there's a Hopeful Eidolon. That's
that's a card I like.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet pickup for him.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Retraction Index in Sudden Storm, but I mean, I don't know. I think
he doesn't have a single premium heroic creature on the offensive side, right? He's got the Wave Crash Tritons.
Right.
But he doesn't have any favorite hoplites, Battle-Wise hoplites, Wingsteed Riders, or Crone Sky Guards.
Yeah, and not that these are great cards, but they're decent beaters. This is what he had last time, stuff like Traveling Philosopher and Laguna Band Elder. Does he even have stuff like that?
No, he doesn't have that. I don't think we've seen a Traveling Philosopher.
Like, I'm really not sure. Like, maybe that's why he took the Wave Crash Triton over the Ordeal. But at this point, I feel like the Blue Ordeal on the Daxos might be like your whole deck. Like, I just have no idea what his deck is going to do. I mean, this is definitely going to be a Soldier of the Pantheon. Right. There's not much multicolor in this set, so it's not a great card, but it's still a 1-mana 2/1, you know. And it's not like he's taking it over anything great. Like, obviously, just because the card is rare doesn't make it better. Like, you would definitely take, like, Wingsteed Rider over Soldier of Pantheon.
Sure.
But, I mean, there's nothing in this pack.
No. He looked at an Aqueous form a little bit, but
yeah,
he's thinking maybe it'll come back.
Yeah. This is not good. Like, Reed's deck is flawed but good. Lots of power. You know, if he draws his Carotid, if his opponents don't have fast draws, you know, I could see Reed winning this tournament.
Sure.
You know? Huey's deck,
I like Reed's deck a lot.
Yeah, I like Reed's deck. I mean, I can't say I like it a lot. I would like it a lot if he had 2 more 2-drops.
Sure.
You know, I think it's a pretty fatal flaw. He's going to be on the draw for some games and not do anything until turn 4. But his deck is very good.
Yeah.
I like the cards in it. You know, I like its potential, you know. Huey's deck, I don't like. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm rooting for him, but I don't like his chances.
I imagine if you asked him, he would. I can't imagine this is a deck with it he's super comfortable with.
No, I'm not exactly sure. You know, there's a Laguna Band Elder, you know, one of his best creatures.
Premium common creature, Laguna Band Elder.
It's not a good situation for Huey. And he's taking Battle-Wise Valor, so I guess he has enough bad creatures. I mean, so, you know, sometimes it's not your fault. I mean, I would have switched into black and probably made a much better deck, but Reed is drafting green in front of him and green-black now passing to him. Right. So it's not like it's horrible of him to have found blue-white with a green-black player feeding him.
Right.
It just so happens that the entire rest of the table apparently opened white cards, and the blue cards weren't that deep, so there's just nothing there for him, you know?
Taking a Breaching Hippocamp here.
pretty sure it's going to make the main.
How often is that true for you?
I mean, it's a 23rd, 22nd. Sometimes you have some Inspire. I mean, it's not a good card. You hope it doesn't make the main.
Right. Grady Griffin. And nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would actually like to see both their deck builds. With Reed, I mostly just wanted to see if he actually had a 2-drop or a 3-drop or 2 I forgot about. Because he doesn't have to have a lot, you know what I mean?
Right.
If he has like 1 2-drop and 2 3-drops that I can't remember, like in addition to the ones we did remember.
Sure, yeah.
Because, you know, we remember a couple, but not a lot.
Right,
we know he has the Ashiok, the Corsair Crewfex, and the Open Line Unicorn.
Right.
But with Ashiok and Corsair Crewfex being difficult to cast, that's only 3 and only 1 that's easy to cast and not even effective on turn 3. And then at 2, we remember Nyxborn Eidolon and Solvent Keratin. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's like a couple. So if Reed actually has 1 more 2-drop and 2 more 3-drops that we can't remember, then his deck is awesome.
Yeah.
Because his power level's fantastic.
Right. If he somehow slipped a return Phalanx in there when we weren't, you know, paying attention,
right,
chose one.
With Huey, I want to watch the deck build just because I want to see which 23 cards he ends up playing. I need to snap a photo of it so whenever he has anything to say to me, I can just show up the photo and make fun of him.
How much of a rivalry is there between you guys as, you know, draft experts?
I'm just kidding. Like, I don't think we would view it as a rivalry. And I know, like, whenever something is really close to me or a format doesn't feel quite the way most people see it, he's the first person I'll message on Facebook and be like, what do you think about this or this or this? And I know it's the same. He messages me and calls me the picks and stuff like that, too.